Gas for the exam cram session, video 10. Okay, the state trooper, a seasoned professional, can hit the bullseye. So why is it that, and we're talking nationwide statistics, that a great deal of fatalities in the line of duty, fatalities, that means dead, occur at the routine traffic stop. And that's because of several things. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but the main thing we're concerned about, the takeaway from this, the human mind under stress works differently than not under stress. The routine traffic stop can easily escalate into a highly stressful situation, and we cannot expect the same kind of performance as other situations. The research involved, and I'm talking research, the full scientific thing that you could imagine, you know, electrodes and machines taking all these kind of readings or whatever. Actual state trooper, actual soccer mom, both hooked up, both exerted under, put under stressful situations, their brains exactly the same. The state trooper's accuracy with the firearm, no matter how good they are at the range in practice, hardly any better than the soccer mom who's never held a gun in her life and is shooting for the first time. Okay? Your brain's going to be the same way. We're all pretty much built, wired the same way. That's just how it is. So how do we combat this? Okay? Well, one, we know that this can happen. Okay? No need to give everyone's secrets away. You're here only for the secrets I give away so that, we have an edge during the exam. How are we going to stop this from happening to us in a highly stressful situation where even when we've studied and we know the stuff cold, there's always a chance we could freeze. There's always a chance we could blank out. You describing it as blanking out. That's called freezing. Okay, that's one of the things they learned from doing these studies about stressful situations. That for a long time we always thought that in a hot situation, adrenaline inducing situation, stressful situation, that it's either fight or flight. We're going to stand our ground and fight, retaliate, or we're going to turn and run and escape. There's a third option. That's called freezing up. So it's fight, flight, or freeze. Freezing up can include blanking out. Losing the skill that you have in an ordinary situation, not being as skillful in that situation. Here, we worked with the biggest table the code has. You probably feel good about a lot of the numbers that you saw. You said, oh, you know what? I kind of can picture it in my mind. I can, I actually think I could rattle off half of the numbers right now. And yes, and you're going to get better at doing it. But on the test, your nerves are getting the better of you. It's like, damn it, it's just not right. You put all this effort into it, and you're going to lose the points here when you expected to have them. It's like, well, it seems pointless. It seems pointless until you also realize, well, guess what? Being human also means that we're highly creative and adaptive creatures, and I told you, there's a trick to everything, okay? One trick is to follow some pretty old advice from one of the greatest strategists ever to live and write down his thoughts, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And he said, the art of war, there's a few things you need to know. You want to be successful. One of them is, well, know the terrain, okay? Obviously, we've already covered that we should know the enemy. Because notice how we've been using the information we've been gathering up to this point, and we're going to get more, and it's going to tell us more. We've been trying to imagine the test maker, trying to imagine the mindset of the Department of Buildings. You know, we've been trying to get into their head to see, well, what is it that they want? Well, what do they see? What are they working with? What can they ask? What do we think they would ask? What we can be sure they're not going to ask, based simply on how they present themselves. It's not just what you say or what you do, it's also what you don't say, what you didn't do. Both of that equally, equally fruitful sources of information to start fleshing out your opponent, your enemy. He also recommends knowing the terrain. I mean, where are you going to fight? Is this on land? Is this on sea? You know, that's a basic question. You know, and the questions get more complex. Well, I described going into the test center and what you're going to see, and how, I told you, it's a third party. They're a business. It's nice. There's a locker. You put your stuff. You're not going to be able to bring anything in there, a palm print, so you have to bring yourself in there, a palm print and a photograph. I told you when you sat down, you're going to have a mouse, computer screen, you're going to fill in blanks. I didn't mention that you get a piece of scrap paper and a writing implement. Okay? For civil service examinations, this is DCAS, so just so you know, the city is always 10 years behind in any kind of technology. So we're still operating with OS like OS 2 or 3 or something like that. Any kind of thing that's out there, the city is 10 years behind on it. So for a test you're taking with DCAS, the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, your scrap paper is an actual piece of paper, and your writing implement is a pencil, okay? And you're going to use a scrap paper and a pencil to do your calculations or whatever, your math and stuff, because there is math on that particular exam. For the gas exam, because it's a third-party testing center, they're a little more ahead of the times because, they actually have to turn a profit. They actually have to be competitive business-wise. Their scrap paper is actually this laminated, gridded sheet, plasticky sheet, and the writing implement is just a smaller version of the dry erase marker. So they're going to set that down for you on the table as scrap paper. This I did not expect, because when I saw that there was going to be no math on the exam, that they didn't say whether or not you could have a calculator, that it's a moot point, there is no calculator because there's no math, I didn't expect scrap paper. It's a pure code exam. You're going off your memory of the code, but yet there was a piece of scrap paper and a writing implement. I'm going to introduce you now to what I call, and this is an extremely beneficial tactic, strategy, trick, especially for those who are worried that no matter how much they review something, they're in the line waiting to get into the test. That morning they're going to take the test, they're in line waiting to go, and they're going over themselves, and then they come back after the test and they say, I knew it, but I just blanked out, I forgot, or I wasn't sure. This is how you solve the problem, and I call it legal cheating. Okay? This has been hanging here the whole time. You say, is he ever going to write anything on there? Yes, I'm going to write something on here. I'm going to do it right now. This, for all intents and purposes, is your scrap paper. Whether it's the actual piece of paper and a pencil from DCAS, or whether it's that weird fancy little new age laminated sheet with a grid that they're going to use to, they study and review and get information to improve the testing process or whatever, and a dry erase, doesn't matter, okay? Oh, gee, look at that. I erased the numbers. I erased the whole table I wrote here. And you know what? just to play it fair, I turned the page. I can't even see the table now. So how am I going to show you that on test day, in the room, under stress, halfway through the test, when I finally need to remember it, and I'm drawing a blank, I'm still going to get the right answer? Well, this is why we remember for each table we start off with, in addition to finding the high and low limits of the table to give us the actual terrain, the actual domain of it, I say we look for one line, one starting point of numbers that we can count on, that we're going to remember that line. And then from that line, we're going to use the rhythms, the patterns, the coincidences, whatever crazy little way it takes for you to remember jumping from one line to the other. That's what you're going to use, because you start off with one line. You build a house. You don't build the roof first. Does that mean you don't know how to build a roof? Does that mean when it comes time to build the roof, you forgot how to build the roof? No, it just means we gotta pour the foundation first. Then bring the supports up to hold the roof. And once we're doing the roof, it's like, oh, yeah, well, I know how to do a roof. You know, it's just, I didn't need to go through it when we're pouring concrete. But now that we're on the roof, sure, I'll tell you how to do the roof, because I know how. Now that we're at the roof, okay? All right. For this big table, let's say some of you guys want to start with at the beginning. You know, if you wanted to start with 1/2 inch and what the 1/2 inch is, and not a bad idea because it starts you with the smallest numbers, and you can just go from there. Like for instance, let's say we wanted to remember 1/2 inch. And right off the bat, I know 1/2 inch has 10 threads per inch. 10 threads. It's going to have, the 10 threads. Okay? And then I know from there, it only gets bigger. I know that it goes in increments of 1, and there's going to be 10, there's going to be 11, there's going to be 12, and finally 13. I know it doesn't go past 13. Now, exactly where it goes, not sure yet. But as I list the numbers out, it'll start coming to me, because every time I remember a foundation, a starting point, it is my mental trigger. It gets me to the next one, to the next one. And because I notice other patterns occurring, let's say I put a number here wrong or whatever, eventually it's like, filling out a Sudoku or crossword puzzle. It's like, okay, wait a minute. That doesn't fit right there. Where did I mess up? It's like, oh, okay. Tweak that a little bit. That's why pencils have erasers. Tweak that a little bit and continue on, and you'll have the whole table. So let's reproduce the whole table, assuming that I have completely freaked out, blanked out, and I think I'm going to get all these wrong. Well, I got to remember that I'm not. I prepared for this. And I prepared for just such a situation, because this is legal cheating. Did you write a crib note the night before or in line? Did you try and write it on your arm? Did you write a piece of paper and try to sneak it in there? Even though you know there's cameras everywhere, you're going to take your chance because it's desperate. Did you try to do that? Because if you did, that's actual cheating. No. But did, after you go in there, satisfying all the requirements of the test, in good faith, did they not bring over a piece of paper and a writing implement to you? Yes, they did. They gave that to you. They want you to have it. Well then, it ain't your fault that you know how to use it in ways that didn't occur to them. Okay? Legal cheating. Here's my piece of scrap paper that they gave me. Here's the implement. I'm going to start differently, but you can start anywhere you want. But I'm going to start because since I just finished talking about 1 inch, 1 inch was the guy that messed everything up. 7/8 was a number, right? And I know that I'm dying to fucking match 1, but to resist the urge, because 1 inch was the guy that throws everything off. So I'm going to say 10. For some reason, those are the numbers I remember like that. Now, 1 inch threw everybody off. How so? Well, because I really wish 1 inch would stick with 2 inch and everything in between, because that's how it works in real life. When we're threading piping, 1 to 2 inch, 11.5 threads per inch pitch. Okay, but no, 7/8 and 10. And I remember that because the 7/8 was weird, but that the 10 for some reason was good for me, because I know the smallest was 1/2 inch, and we go to 3/4. Because of the 10, there is no number smaller than 10, 10, 10. This is like a Sudoku. If we had this many numbers in the Sudoku box, we're off to a good start, as long as they're correct. But I have a feeling they're correct. I'm pretty sure if we keep going and we have a mistake, it'll pop up and help us out. And this isn't because I haven't remembered them rote. This is because I just remember seeing and feeling, and that was the pattern of everything, okay? They don't even have to mean anything yet. As long as I keep them in some kind of order, pattern, whatever, I'll figure out what they mean later, okay? I'll figure out whether or not this is the length and this is the threads, or this is the length and that's the thread. Doesn't matter. The numbers are fine. As long as the numbers are right. Take your time. You have 2 hours for 50 questions. You can take your time. You can get flustered, ask to go to the bathroom, drink some water, splash water in your face, take 15 minutes to compose yourself, come back, and you're still going to finish with way more time than you need. Take your time. You have it. Okay? So, 7/8. Right. So, 1/2 and 3/4. Well, 1/2 and 3/4, I remember they stay together. Mainly because I don't remember them not staying together. It's not just what I remember, it's what you also don't remember. It's like, okay, do you know where you parked the car? Well, I don't remember exactly where I parked the car, but I know I didn't park it next to a fire-breathing dragon. So, choice D, fire-breathing dragon, is out of the picture because I know I didn't do that. Now, did I park it on level A, B, or C? I might need to think about that for a moment, okay? But I don't remember 1/2 and 3/4 veering. So 7/8. So what's the size before 7/8? Okay? Well, I know that 7/8, and somewhere in here also, it was off by 1/8. So, let's take 1/8 away. 3/4. 3/4, 3/4. This is complete. Inch, 7/8, 10. Well, now, we remember these things because remember this is where the limits change, you know? So, if we go 1 inch and then in between here, of course, there's 1.25 inches, 1.5, all right? But I keep thinking 2. 2 sticks out of my mind because that must be a barrier. That must be somewhere I said this is a line that doesn't get crossed. This consolidates some information. So, 1 inch is by itself, except, of course, for here in 10. These numbers got to be bigger. The change from 7/8 is going to be 1/8. Okay? 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch. I remember feeling that this stayed true to what we've known from the beginning of our careers. This one felt better, made more sense, and had some kind of uniformity to it. You know, I remember 1. I remember just a bunch of 1s. Okay, well, 1 inch, 11 threads, or we don't even, like I said, we don't even need to worry about that. We just know 1 and 11, somehow 1 and 11. This is 3/4 of the table already done. If I were to rattle this off without you knowing what I'm doing in my head, you would think I'm incredibly awesome. Now that you know this, now you know how to look incredibly awesome, right? So, what's the next size after 2? 2.5. And we knew that the table stuck to what the sizes we're most familiar with. So, 3 and 4. Okay. So, for 2.5 and 3, I think, I have a feeling that they share the same number, okay? So I could go that way. the way I did here. But I'm feeling a little insecure right now. You know, I'm in front of the camera. I'm trying to show you this works. I'm a little worried. What if I write the wrong number and now everybody thinks, oh, I'm full of shit or whatever? Uh-oh, I'm feeling nerves. Oh, shit, I'm blanking out a little bit, or I'm doubting myself. What's the solution? Go with what you know. Go with your fail-safe plan. My fail-safe plan was, I don't have to remember it in any particular order. I'm going to go with what strikes me. You know what? I do know that I do have that good feeling that 2.5 and 3 were on their own. Okay? That leaves 4 to be the high limit as opposed to the low limit. Can I fill in at least one number like a Sudoku puzzle? You don't know anything, but at least if you can get one number, sometimes that's all you need, and then another waterfall of numbers start flowing out, you know, because the logics just start working out. What number can I find? Well, this is why we learn our high and our low limits. It doesn't matter what number is in the last section. It's the highest number. I did remember. We started with 10, and the highest number we end up with is 13. Another entry in the Sudoku box. See that? Oh, wait a minute. Didn't I tell you logic would follow? Didn't I tell you didn't even have to think about it? That just let it happen, let it work itself? I knew that the pattern was sequential. 10, 11, 13, 10, 11, 12. We're almost done with the Sudoku puzzle, okay? And I still don't even have to tell you what these numbers mean. I just know they're correct. I'll figure out what they mean later. The most important thing are these numbers where someone else needs to write a crib sheet or, you know, write it on their arm or, you know, so the cameras can maybe catch you cheating, and that's it, because I'm pretty sure if they catch you cheating once, that's it. You're never going to be allowed to take the test. Or at least they're not going to let you take the test for, I don't know, 7 years or something like that. I know if you're caught doing something on Master Plumber, like the Master Plumber Association, it's like they say, all right, you're going with your license, and you know, the best you can hope for is you got to wait 7 years before you can go and beg for it back. Pretty sure with this. I mean, either you never get to take the test again, or it's going to be like 7 years before you can take the test. We don't need to do that. We're smarter than that. We're craftier than that. Okay? We're just a couple of boxes in the Sudoku away from being, you know, looking like we're masters of this stuff. So, after 1, I know something in here has got to be greater than 1. But once again, I think I know. I'm pretty sure. But you know what? I want to be perfect to prove to you that how wonderful this works. And all you got to do is just be patient with yourself and just remember a few key things. I'm going to go with the 4 because just like I started with the 1 because of how weird the 1 is and how this guy decides he doesn't want to be like everybody else. The 4 in the same way because I remember 1 and something 8th, but not 7, different than 7/8. You work with your ruler enough, it's like, you know what? I think it's going to be 5/8. And then there's only 1 box left in the Sudoku between 1 and 1 and 5/8. And even if I'm still not sure, didn't I say something like, you know, a fly buzzing or a song in your head you can't get out? Didn't I say like something in here, not related directly, but it just happens to be there, coincidence or whatever. Oh, 2.5. 1, 2. I think I proved my point. I think you have nothing to fear. I think you just gotta do the work. I'm going to leave this up here for the next few videos because this way you can practice and develop your own way. You could use this one or one you developed or whatever. The important thing is, I mean, we do have to put the work in. It's not, you know, it's legal cheating, okay? You do this on your scrap paper and you're not going to take this home with you, okay? The scrap paper gets left in the room. The pen gets left in the room. No problem, dude. It's yours. I don't want it. I'm just going to write this on there. You know, 100% legal. There's your cheat sheet. There's your crib notes. Okay? And you don't even have to wait for the middle of the exam to do this. If you are really, really worried, the minute you go into that room and they say you can start the test, that means you can also start writing on your scrap paper. Your mind is fresh then. You're worried about forgetting that by the time you get to question 25, the middle of the exam, then why wait till question 25? Before you answer your first question, write all the things you're scared about forgetting. Write them in the upper right-hand corner. Okay? Now, start your test. Question 25 comes. You blanked out like you knew you would, but guess what? The sheet's right there. Oh, I wrote it down, blah, blah, blah. Click, 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 click. Continue on. Okay? So, don't worry. All right? Have no fear. Okay? Just study, do the work. This works because you did do study. You had to look at it. You identified your high-low limits, patterns that struck out at you, little relationships, and treat it like a Sudoku puzzle. That's a huge-ass table. I just reproduced it, and I promise you I wasn't looking at anything. I just went by what we were talking about, remembered what we were talking about, what struck out at me, and I got the table. A lot of information. Looks awesome. Not awesome. It's a great trick. Who was it? David Copperfield? That stuff looks awesome too, but you know it's not real. You know it's not magic. It's a trick. And remember when I told you what makes the difference between good, expert, and master? We'll call David Copperfield a master. I know he lives in Las Vegas. I know he must live very well. I know he's married to some hot, high maintenance babe and everything. But, that's when the cameras are on. When the cameras are off, he doesn't have a life. He is practicing every day. I guess if you're one of those assistants to him on the act, you work your ass off. I'm pretty sure if you don't work as hard as he does, or even just half as hard as he does, you're fired. Okay? And show business is a tough job too. Tough to get, tough to keep. Okay. So all of that was for these length of threaded portion and number of threads. So let's see. The length of the threaded portion on a 4-inch gas pipe is 1 5/8 inches. Oh, what do you know? See? It does work out. Okay. So, that was the last question that jumped us on this incredible journey into the into the minutia of this exam and how seemingly complicated it can get. Meaning you got to find ways to simplify. Okay, question 43. Gas piping joint shall be. And here we have 4 choices. Threaded. We've been talking about, it seems like we've talked nothing but threads. Flanged. I know one place where I've been constantly drawing the symbol for a flange joint at the point of delivery. At the meter set, notice I've been drawing what, some people might mistake for a union, if they're not careful, a flange joint. So yes, we can have flange joints. On the test, if you blank out, remember these classes. Remember, every time Victor was talking about point of delivery, when he was showing the outlet of the meter set to the distribution piping, he kept putting a flange joint. Because it can't possibly be a union. There's no way that's going to be a union. There's very few places where a union is allowed, and you definitely would not put a union there. So it was a flange joint. Why would you write flange joint if we're not allowed to have it? We're allowed to have a flange joint. And welded. Of course we can have a welded joint. We were talking about, when we run out of options for threaded joints, when we hit the limits of the threaded joint, we got to weld. So all 3. So choice D, all the above. Okay? Question 44. Only full face gaskets shall be used with cast iron flanges in a gas distribution system. Okay? This is easiest